The Titanic's bow is perhaps the most recognizable image in maritime history. Decades of photographs and films have focused on the forecastle deck railing, creating an impression that this structure is a permanent monument. But in the summer of 2024, researchers arrived to find that a 15-foot section of that iconic portside railing has broken away. It now lies in the mud on the seafloor. This structural failure highlights the reality of the wreck's condition. The ship is slowly collapsing, and historians are currently struggling to document the site before the hull gives way entirely. Part of the difficulty is the location. The Titanic rests 12,500 feet deep in the midnight zone, a region of the Atlantic where sunlight never reaches. When Robert Ballard discovered the site in 1985, the search for the ship was actually a cover for a classified Navy mission. Ballard was tasked with investigating the wreckage of two lost nuclear submarines, the USS Scorpion and the USS Thresher. He studied how the submarines shattered during their descent, creating a trail of wreckage that was easier to spot than a single hull. Ballard applied this exact debris mapping logic to find the Titanic, following the trail of coal and steel across the seabed. The discovery ended 7 decades of speculation about the ship's location, but it also confirmed that the ocean had already begun to dismantle the vessel. The environment at this depth is hostile to man-made structures. The water temperature stays near freezing, and the hull faces a pressure of 5,800 pounds per square inch. However, the most effective force destroying the ship is biological. A specialized microbe called Halomonas Titanicae is currently consuming the iron. These bacteria extract the wrought iron from the ship and leave behind fragile, icicle-shaped structures called rusticles. Over time, the rusticles become so heavy and porous that they break off. As the iron is extracted, the hull loses its structural integrity. Eventually, the remains of the Titanic will be reduced to a rust stain on the ocean floor. The ship is essentially being digested. To the deep-sea ecosystem, the Titanic is a temporary source of nutrients that is slowly being reabsorbed into the environment. This inevitable decay has created a conflict over how to manage the site. International treaties currently favor a policy of in-situ preservation, meaning the wreck should remain undisturbed. Advocates for this policy argue that the Titanic is the final resting place for 1,500 people. They believe the site should be treated with the same respect as a cemetery on land. But the company holding the salvage rights, RMS Titanic Inc., argues that the window for recovery is closing. As bacteria eat through the decks, the interior rooms are collapsing. This damage is exposing artifacts hidden for a century. In 2024, robots rediscovered the bronze statue known as the Diana of Versailles. It was once the center of the first-class lounge. Now it sits face up in the sediment. Salvage teams believe that leaving these items to be destroyed by salt and pressure effectively erases the history they represent. They argue that recovery is the only way to save these records of the passengers' lives. It is a difficult choice. Protecting the site as a memorial ensures that the physical evidence of the tragedy will eventually vanish along with the ship. Regardless of the legal outcomes, the biological decay of the hull cannot be stopped. The steel will continue to dissolve until the structure fails. To preserve what is left, researchers are using autonomous robots to create high-resolution scans and 3-dimensional models of the wreck. These mapping efforts are capturing the ship's current state down to the millimeter. They are creating a record of the decay itself, documenting the Titanic before it settles into a flat field of debris. The physical steel at the bottom of the Atlantic is already returning to the Earth. The legacy of the Titanic is shifting from the deep ocean into a digital record, a final transition from dust to dust.